Time now to take a look at the news from the left, right, and middle. And with us today from the left is freelance writer and feminist blogger Lauren Rankin. And on the right, of course, from Washington, D.C. is our favorite attorney, Horace Cooper. Welcome to both of you.
Good evening.
Thank you. And Lauren, you are no stranger to Arise America, but this is your first time with left, right, and middle.
It is.
So
I'm ready.
Put away the civility that you use in Reporters Rewind, and here we go. Okay. Let's talk about, first of all, this government shutdown, which we couldn't stop talking about for 16 days, and quite frankly, the 2 weeks leading up to it, ramping up to it. I'm going to start with you, Lauren. Who won and who lost with this shutdown?
Well, I think it's pretty clear nobody won, maybe except for the news media, having something to talk about continuously for 16 days. I think there are many losers. We can start with the 800,000 furloughed workers who had to sit at home for 2 weeks without wondering whether they were going to get back pay or not, because a minority faction of an increasingly irrelevant party refused to actually do their job. And that's what happened. I think another loser that we can point to here, it's actually moderate Republicans who are now associated with this kind of hostage taking. You see senators like John McCain coming out and really sort of decrying this kind of behavior. Just for a moment, decrying this behavior.
I knew he wasn't going to be able to hold himself much longer.
You see people like that coming. John McCain's coming out and saying this isn't how we want to conduct ourselves, but they're sort of held hostage by this rabid base that they can't get a hold of.
So, Horace, was it the minority faction of the increasingly irrelevant party that got you?
Okay, first of all, the big winner in all of this was Valerie Jarrett. She was the one that said to the President of the United States, tell the Republicans you will not negotiate. Tell them it's my way or the highway, and I promise you it will force them to act in a way that is inconsistent with their own political interests. And she was right. It was great advice, great political theater, and so it cost 800,000 people the worry about their work and their income. So the taxpayers are ultimately going to have to pay some $24 billion, not just for the missed salaries, but the other activities of government and that occurred as well. Yes, it was a great day for the political strategist in the White House, Valerie Jarrett.
Except for the fact that this really shouldn't have happened at all. We didn't need this to happen at all. The only reason that this actually took place is because a small party is unwilling to extend health care to millions of people. They are willing to shut down the government to keep health care from being extended to people at an affordable cost. That is mind-blowing.
Actually, it's not a small minority. This is not the first time we've had this fight. Miss Hillary Clinton presented a plan, and the nation rose up, not a small minority, and rejected it. With regard to the debt ceiling, it was this president as a senator who let the vote get to a 52-48 margin and was prepared, apparently, in voting no to let us go to a default. So, you know, you got to look at this much broader than just this narrow partisan window that you're looking through.
All right, in my role as being the middle, I just want to interject just a point of clarification, Horace, that I think you have to agree that, okay, Hillary Clinton did try this, but what the country rose up against was the fact that they did not vote her into office. And so,
that's a bolder dash.
I mean, that's an important point that has to be acknowledged there.
2010 tells us a lot more about what the American people think about the Affordable Care Act. They brought in the largest increase in Republicans in the 20th century.
So you're just going to ignore the fact that we actually re-elected this president in 2012. We re-elected him on the basis of this.
I'm sorry. I think George W. Bush got re-elected in 2004. That apparently wasn't sufficient to get the Bush haters to change their agenda and allow him to go forward with his.
I don't think the Bush haters were shutting down the government, Horace.
There has been partisanship on the left and on the right. This is no different. The issue is that Miss Valerie Jarrett was clever enough to advise the president to take us right over the fiscal cliff, if necessary, as a way to get a political victory.
Again, in my role of being in the middle, we have to also be fair and say that what the president said he would not negotiate about was that already passed health care law. He didn't say he wouldn't negotiate,
and they
just not using the health care law as the carrot to negotiate.
Actually, that's not true either. There were
I heard him say it myself, Horace.
They're operating at sequester-level budgets. The Democrats already capitulated that.
There were 6 different proposals that the Republican put forward, and he said no, and all of them didn't involve the Affordable Care Act. He even admitted that the medical device bill tax wasn't central to his. And yet today, that ended up not occurring.
Okay,
so it simply isn't true to say that he was just fighting over the Affordable Care Act.
I'm gonna blow the whistle on this conversation. Let's turn the corner in the minute or two that we have left and talk about this case that's before the Supreme Court right now. Arguments were just held this week. It's Schuett versus the Coalition to Defend Affirmative Action. Basically, the voters voted to ban affirmative action in Michigan. Now this ban has been taken to the Supreme Court. Horace, let's start with you because we know that you wrote an amicus brief on this case.
We're supporting Michigan, and frankly, since Ms. Kagan has recused herself, there are only 3 sure no votes to allow this to go forward. I think it's very likely that Justice Kennedy is going to write this decision, and they're going to narrowly, but they are going to uphold the right of Michigan to join California, Washington State, and a few other states in saying we're going to operate in a strictly race-neutral fashion when it comes to admissions, hiring, or federal or state contracts.
Is it possible to be race neutral? It's a little ironic that I'm asking the white girl at the table.
Yes,
but I think you can speak intelligently on it. Of course, the issue here is that this public vote violates 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause.
Precisely. A lot of things upset me. Few things disgust me as much as the fight against affirmative action. It's an embarrassment, frankly. Are we at the point now where white people are really suffering? White people are being disenfranchised. White people are struggling to get a college education. The fact is, the idea of operating in a colorblind, race-neutral way sounds good in theory, but in practice, it actually contributes and perpetuates to the marginalization of people of color, and this has been proven. In fact, just the other day, a Reagan-appointed conservative judge reversed his own decision about voter ID, where he said, "I was wrong. This actually marginalizes people of color, and I made the wrong ruling." This is a conservative judge who realizes that we're actually marginalizing
Horace,
people.
don't hold this against me, but we're really running out of time for the whole show. I want to thank Horace Cooper joining us from Washington, Lauren Rankin. You did very well. You put your civility aside very well.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow on Arise America. Bye-bye.